I married Claire 3 years ago. She was a widow with a 17-year-old son named Austin. I was 42, never married, no kids of my own. Claire was everything I'd been looking for. Kind, intelligent, funny. We fell in love fast. Austin seemed fine with the marriage at first. Polite, respectful, called me sir, and shook my hand at the wedding. I thought we'd eventually build a real relationship. Father and son. Or at least friends. I was wrong. The problem started small. 6 months after the wedding, money began disappearing from my wallet. $20 here, $50 there. Nothing huge. Easy to dismiss as forgetfulness. Maybe I'd spent it and forgotten. Maybe I'd miscounted. Then my watch went missing. Expensive Rolex. Gift from my late father. I'd left it on my dresser one morning. By evening, it was gone. I searched everywhere. Tore apart the bedroom. Checked the bathroom. The kitchen. Nothing. Maybe you left it at the office? Claire suggested. I never wear it to the office. It was right here on the dresser. Well, it didn't just walk away, but it had walked away. In Austin's pocket. I didn't know that yet. Didn't want to believe it. 2 weeks later, Claire's diamond earrings disappeared. The ones I'd given her for our first anniversary. Worth $3,000. She was devastated. Someone broke in, she said, voice shaking. We need to call the police. We filed a report. Police came, looked around, found no signs of forced entry. No broken windows. No jimmied locks. Probably someone who had access. The officer said, family member? Friend? Service person. His eyes lingered on me, like I was a suspect. In my own home, more things disappeared over the next month. Claire's laptop, my tablet, cash from the safe in my office. The safe I thought only Claire, and I knew the combination to. We called the police again. Different officer this time. She asked the same questions. Who had access? Who knew where valuables were kept? Again, her suspicion seemed to land on me. Mr. Foster, do you have any financial difficulties? Gambling debts? Business problems? No, nothing like that. I own a successful consulting firm. Money isn't an issue. Sometimes people get into trouble, even when they seem financially stable. I understood what she was implying, that I was stealing from my own home, selling items for cash, creating some kind of insurance scam. I'm not stealing from myself, I said firmly. Then who is? Good question. I had theories. But accusing your teenage stepson without proof is a quick way to destroy a marriage. Claire loved Austin fiercely, defended him constantly. He was her baby, her only child. If I accused him wrongly, she'd never forgive me. So I stayed quiet, watched, waited. Austin was always around when things disappeared, always home, always with access. But he played innocent perfectly. That's terrible, he'd say when something went missing. Who would steal from family? Who indeed? One evening, I came home early from work, walked into the house quietly, heard noise coming from my office. I approached slowly, peeked around the corner. Austin was at my desk, going through drawers, pulling out papers, looking for something. What are you doing? I asked. He jumped, turned, faced guilty for a split second. Then it smoothed over. Oh, hey, Mom asked me to find some insurance papers. Said they might be in your desk. What insurance papers? I don't know. Something about the car. Lie. I could see it in his eyes. But proving it was another matter. That night, I talked Claire. Carefully, gently. I saw Austin in my office today, going through my desk. He was looking for insurance papers. I asked him to, so he covered himself. Told her the lie first. Set up the alibi. Did you really need insurance papers? Yes, for the car registration. Why? Just seems odd. You could have asked me directly. You weren't home. Austin was. I asked him, what's the big deal? I could see the defensiveness building. The protective mother instinct kicking in. No big deal. Just checking. But it was a big deal. Austin was getting bolder, more confident, and he was smart enough to cover his tracks. I needed proof. Real, undeniable evidence. The next day, I went to an electronics store, bought 4 hidden cameras. Small ones, disguised as everyday objects. Clock, picture frame, smoke detector, book on a shelf. I installed them throughout the house. In my office, in our bedroom, in the living room, in the hallway, all recording to a cloud server only I could access. Then I waited. If Austin was stealing, I'd catch him. If I was wrong, I'd delete the footage and never mention it. But I wasn't wrong. 3 days later, I reviewed the footage. What I saw made my blood boil. Austin entered my office while Claire and I were both at work. He went straight to the desk, opened drawers with practiced ease, found my spare credit card, the one I kept for emergencies, photographed both sides with his phone, put everything back exactly as he'd found it. Then he left, calm, casual, like he'd done it 100 times, which I realized he probably had. I kept watching. Over the next week, the cameras captured everything. Austin going through Claire's jewelry box. Austin checking my wallet when I left it on the kitchen counter. Austin trying different combinations on the safe in my office. He was systematic, patient, methodical, not a desperate kid stealing for drug money. This was planned, calculated. I needed more evidence before confronting anyone. Needed to understand the full scope of what Austin was doing. So I let the cameras run. Watched him work. 2 weeks after installing the cameras, something bigger happened. A Saturday afternoon, Claire and I went to lunch with friends. Austin stayed home. Said he had homework. We were gone 3 hours. When we returned, everything seemed normal. But that evening, Claire went to her jewelry box. "My mother's necklace is gone," she said, voice shaking. "The diamond one. It was right here." "Are you sure?" "Positive. I wore it 2 days ago. Put it back in this exact spot." The necklace was worth $15,000. Family heirloom. Irreplaceable. Claire started crying. I held her, comforted her, but inside I was furious. Austin had crossed a line. Stolen something with deep sentimental value. Something that couldn't be replaced. "We need to call the police again," Claire said. "No, not yet." "Why not?" "Because I think I know what's happening. And if I'm right, the police won't help us." "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my laptop, opened the security footage. I installed cameras 2 weeks ago, after Austin was in my office. I wanted to see if my suspicions were right. Claire's face hardened. "You've been spying on us?" "I've been protecting us." "Watch." I showed her the footage. Austin photographing my credit card, going through her jewelry, trying the safe combination. Her face went white, then red, then white again. "No," she whispered. "No, this can't be real." "It's real. He's been stealing from us for months. Probably longer. But why? He has everything he needs. We give him money, buy him whatever he wants. I don't know why, but I'm going to find out." Claire wanted to confront Austin immediately. I stopped her. "Not yet. We need to know what he's doing with the stolen items, who he's working with, whether this is bigger than just stealing from us." "What do you mean bigger?" "He photographed my credit card. That's credit card fraud, identity theft. Those are serious crimes. If he's using it or selling the information, this goes beyond family theft." "You think my son is involved in organized crime?" "I think your son is involved in something beyond typical teenage rebellion, and we need to understand what before we act." She didn't like it, but she agreed. We'd watch, document, gather evidence. Then we'd act decisively. Over the next few days, I monitored our credit cards closely. Sure enough, charges started appearing. Small ones, gas stations, fast food, nothing that would trigger fraud alerts. But they were there. Purchases we didn't make. Austin was testing the limits, seeing what he could get away with. Then bigger charges appeared. Electronics store, $3,000. Jewelry store, $5,000. He was getting confident, reckless. I didn't cancel the card, didn't report the fraud. Instead, I documented every charge, took screenshots, Build a case. Claire watched the security footage obsessively, crying, angry, heartbroken. How did I not see this? How did I not know? Because he's good at hiding it, good at lying. It's not your fault. He's my son. I raised him. This is absolutely my fault. No, he made his choices. Bad choices. Now he has to face consequences. What consequences? What are we going to do? We're going to expose him. Completely. Show him he can't manipulate us anymore. But exposing him would require perfect timing, perfect execution, and a plan that would leave no room for denial. I spent a week planning, researching, consulting with lawyers. I learned that what Austin was doing qualified as multiple felonies: burglary from a dwelling, identity theft, credit card fraud, wire fraud. He could face serious prison time. But he was 17, still a minor. The courts might go easy. Juvenile detention, probation, sealed records. Unless we could prove he knew exactly what he was doing, that he'd planned it, that he was sophisticated enough to understand the consequences. The cameras helped, but I needed more. I needed to catch him in the act. Red-handed, undeniable. So I set a trap. I left $500 cash in my office drawer. Easy to find. Tempting target. I told Claire about it. Mentioned it loudly at dinner when Austin was in the next room. That cash from the client payment. I said, I put it in my office drawer. Need to deposit it tomorrow. Claire played along. That's a lot of cash to leave lying around. It's fine. It's in the house. It'll be safe. We made eye contact. She understood. That night, the cameras captured everything. Austin waited until midnight, crept down the hallway, entered my office in the dark, opened the drawer, took the cash, counted it carefully, put it in his pocket. Then he did something I didn't expect. He pulled out his phone, texted someone, got 500. Meet tomorrow, usual spot. Someone responded. Good. Boss wants more. Step it up. Boss? Austin wasn't working alone. He was part of something bigger. Organized. The next morning, I followed Austin. Called in sick to work. Watched him leave the house at 10 a.m. Followed his car at a distance. He drove to a coffee shop downtown. Met a man in his 30s. Expensive suit. Flashy watch. They talked for 20 minutes. Austin handed over an envelope. The man handed Austin cash. They shook hands. Parted ways. I photographed everything. The meeting. The exchange. The man's license plate. When I got home, I ran the plate. Guy named Marcus Webb. Criminal record. Fraud. Theft. Organized crime connections. Austin was selling stolen items to a fence. A professional criminal who resold stolen goods. This was worse than I'd imagined. I called a lawyer friend. Explained the situation. You need to go to the police immediately, he said. With this much evidence, they'll take it seriously. What about Austin? He's my stepson. Claire's son. He's committing felonies. Working with organized criminals. If you don't report it, you could be charged as accessories. Especially once you know about it. What will happen to him? Depends. He's a minor, so maybe juvenile detention, maybe probation, but with his connection to an adult criminal, they might try him as an adult. That would destroy Claire, so we're letting him continue. He's going to get caught eventually. Better's by you than by police during a raid. I knew he was right, but telling Claire would be brutal. That evening I sat her down, showed her everything. The new footage, the text messages, the meeting with Marcus Webb, the criminal record. She sat in silence, tears streaming down her face. My baby is a criminal. He made bad choices, but we can still save him. If we act now, get ahead of this, work with police instead of against them. He'll hate me. He'll think I betrayed him. He betrayed us. He betrayed himself. We're trying to save him from worse consequences. She nodded slowly. Okay, what do? We call the police. Show them everything. Cooperate fully. Hope they're lenient because we came forward voluntarily. And Marcus Webb? They'll arrest him. Use Austin's testimony to build a bigger case. Austin might get a deal if he cooperates. It wasn't ideal, but it was the right thing to do. We called the police the next morning. Detective Sarah Morrison came to our house, listened to our story, reviewed the footage. This is extensive documentation, she said. Most people don't go to these lengths. I needed to be sure. Before accusing my stepson, I needed undeniable proof. You got it. This is solid evidence. Multiple felonies. And the connection to Marcus Webb is valuable. We've been trying to build a case against him for years. What happens now? We'll obtain arrest warrants for Austin and Marcus. We'll coordinate the arrests to happen simultaneously. That way Marcus can't destroy evidence or flee. Tomorrow morning, before school, we'll take Austin into custody quietly. No drama. No handcuffs if he cooperates. Claire started crying again. He's just a boy. He's a criminal. Detective Morrison said gently, but he's young. The system can still help him, still redirect him, but only if we intervene now. Will he go to jail? Juvenile detention, probably, for a few months, then intensive probation, counseling, restitution. He'll have to pay back what he stole. We'll pay it, Claire said immediately. We'll pay whatever he owes. That's your choice. But he needs to face consequences. Understand that actions have results. Otherwise, he'll do this again. Bigger crimes. Worse consequences. We signed statements. Handed over all evidence. The cameras. The recordings. The financial documentation. Everything. Detective Morrison left promising to keep us updated. That night, neither Claire nor I slept. We lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Am I a bad mother? Claire whispered. No. You're a good mother doing a hard thing. Protecting your son from himself. It doesn't feel like protecting. It feels like destroying. Sometimes they're the same thing. Short-term pain for long-term good. The next morning at 6 a.m., police arrived. Detective Morrison and 2 uniformed officers. They knocked quietly. I let them in. Austin was still asleep. We led them to his bedroom. Detective Morrison knocked. Austin, this is the police. We need to talk to you. Austin opened the door, confused and sleepy. When he saw the officers, his face changed. Fear, panic. Then he looked at me and Claire standing behind them. Betrayal. What's going on? He asked, voice cracking. Austin, you're under arrest for burglary, identity theft, and credit card fraud. Detective Morrison said, you have the right to remain silent. She read him his rights while Austin stared at us. Mom, what did you do? What I had to do, Claire said, crying. To save you. Save me? You're sending me to jail. You were stealing from us. Working with criminals. We had no choice. I can explain everything. It's not what you think. Then explain it at the station, Detective Morrison said. Let's go. They walked him out. He was wearing pajamas, looking young and scared. Nothing like the calculated thief from the security footage. Claire collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. I held her. We did the right thing, I said. Then why does it feel so wrong? Because love is complicated. Because protecting someone sometimes means hurting them. Because consequences are painful even when they're necessary. At the police station, we gave full statements, turned over all evidence, signed documents. Detective Morrison updated us throughout the day. Austin is cooperating, admitted to the thefts, confirmed the connection to Marcus Webb. He's giving us details about Webb's operation. What about Austin's charges? The DA is reviewing. Given his age and cooperation, they're considering a plea deal. Juvenile detention for 6 months. Then probation, restitution, community service. No adult charges? Not if he continues cooperating and shows genuine remorse. That was something. Not great, but better than adult prison. Marcus Webb was arrested the same morning. Police raided his apartment. Found stolen items worth over $200,000. Ledgers showing transactions with multiple thieves. Austin was just one of many. Webb recruited him. Detective Morrison explained. Targeted him online. Found out he had access to wealthy parents. Coached him on what to steal and how to avoid detection. That changed things. Austin wasn't some criminal mastermind. He was a victim, manipulated by an adult predator. Used. Webb looks for vulnerable kids, Detective Morrison continued. Kids who feel resentful toward step-parents. Kids who feel replaced or ignored. He befriends them online, slowly convinces them to steal, pays them small amounts, gets them hooked. How long had he been grooming Austin? About 8 months. Started right after your wedding. My wedding. Austin's resentment toward me had been exploited, weaponized. This isn't your fault, Claire said, reading my mind. Webb is a predator. He would have found some angle regardless. Maybe, but I couldn't shake the guilt. If I had tried harder with Austin, been more patient, more understanding, maybe he wouldn't have been vulnerable to manipulation. Don't do that, Detective Morrison said. Webb is sophisticated. He's done this to dozens of kids. You couldn't prevented it. I could have noticed sooner. You did notice. You documented it. You stopped it before Austin got in deeper. That's more than most parents do. Small comfort. But I'd take it. Over the next week, Austin remained in juvenile detention. Claire visited daily. I stayed away. Gave them space. He's angry, Claire reported after each visit. At me, at you, at himself. But mostly at Marcus Webb. Does he understand Webb manipulated him? Starting to. The counselor there is helping him see it. But it's hard. He feels stupid. Used. He was used by a professional criminal. That's not stupidity. That's predation. He wants to see you. That surprised me. Why? To apologize. To explain. Will you go? I didn't want to. Didn't want to face the kid who'd stolen from me. Who'd violated my home. My trust. But Claire was pleading with her eyes. This was important to her. To their healing. Okay, I'll go. The juvenile detention center was grim. Concrete walls. Locked doors. Security checkpoints. Austin sat across from me in a small meeting room. He looked thinner. Older somehow. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Austin spoke. I'm sorry. For everything. For stealing from you. For lying. For destroying Mom's trust. Why did you do it? At first, because I was angry. You married Mom. Moved into our house. Changed everything. I felt like you were replacing my dad. I never wanted to replace your father. I know that now. But I was 15. Stupid. Resentful. Then Marcus contacted me online. Started chatting. Seemed like a cool older friend. He understood me. Made me feel important. How did it escalate? Slowly. First, he just asked about our house. What we had. What you did for work. I thought he was just making conversation. Then he suggested I could make easy money. Take things you wouldn't miss. Sell them to him. Get cash. And you agreed. Yeah, at first, it felt like revenge. Like I was getting back at you for invading my life. But then I needed the money. Marcus paid well. And he kept pushing me to take bigger risks. Better items. The credit card fraud? That was Marcus's idea. Said it was easy money. Low risk. I was stupid enough to believe him. You knew it was wrong. Of course I knew. But I convinced myself it didn't matter. That you were rich. That you could afford it. That I deserved it somehow. He looked down. I was wrong. About everything. Yes, you were. Silence. Then Austin looked up. Do you hate me? Honest question. Deserve an honest answer. I don't hate you. I'm angry. Disappointed. Hurt. But I don't hate you. Will you ever forgive me? I don't know. Maybe. With time. If you do the work. Change. Prove you're better than this. I will. I promise. I'll make this right. Actions, not promises. Show me through what you do, not what you say. He nodded. Fair enough. Before I left, I asked, why did you target your mother's necklace? The one from her mother? That was cruel. Austin's face crumpled. I didn't know it was from her mother. Marcus told me to get the most expensive jewelry I could find. I grabbed it without thinking. When I realized what it was, I felt sick, but I'd already given it to Marcus. Do the police know where it is? Marcus sold it already, to some collector, but he kept records. Police are trying to track it down. I hope they find it. That necklace meant everything to your mother. I know, and I destroyed that, just like I destroyed her trust in me. He was crying now, real tears, real remorse. You can rebuild trust, I said. It takes time, consistent good behavior, proof that you've changed, but it's possible. Will you help me? When I get out, will you give me a chance? I thought about it, about whether I could trust him again, whether our relationship could ever be repaired. I'll give you a chance, I said finally. One chance. But if you betray that trust, we're done. Understand? I understand. Thank you. I left the detention center feeling drained, emotionally exhausted. Claire was waiting in the car. How did it go? He apologized. Seems genuine. Time will tell. Do you believe him? I want to, but belief requires proof. He'll have to earn it back. 2 months later, Austin's case went before a judge. The DA offered a plea deal. 6 months in juvenile detention. Already served 2. For more to go. Then 2 years of intensive probation, weekly counseling, community service, restitution of everything stolen. Austin accepted. The judge was stern. Young man, you committed serious crimes, violated your family's trust, worked with dangerous criminals. You're fortunate the system is giving you a second chance. I know your honor. I won't waste it. See that you don't, because if you appear before me again, the consequences will be much more severe. Austin was led away, back to detention. Claire and I went home. The house felt empty, haunted by everything that had happened. I need to redecorate, Claire said suddenly. Change things. Make this feel like a fresh start. Good idea. We spent the next few months transforming the house. New paint, new furniture, new security system. Not hidden cameras this time. Visible ones. A reminder. A deterrent. Marcus Webb's trial was faster. Adult court. Multiple felonies. Evidence overwhelming. He was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. Justice, Detective Morrison said when she called with the news. And because of Austin's testimony, we've identified 6 other kids Webb recruited. We're helping them too. Some good came from the nightmare. Other families were protected. Other kids were saved. Austin served his 4 months. Got out in early December. We picked him up from the detention center. He looked different. Older. More serious. Haircut. Clean clothes. Uncertain eyes. Welcome home, Claire said, hugging him. He hugged back, then looked at me, extended his hand. Thank you for giving me another chance. I shook his hand. Don't waste it. I won't. The first few weeks were awkward. Austin followed every rule, did his community service, attended counseling, checked in with his probation officer. He got a part-time job, started paying restitution, $25 a week. It would take years to pay back everything he'd stolen, but he was trying. One evening, about a month after his release, Austin knocked on my office door. Can we talk? Sure. Come in. He sat down, nervous. I've been thinking about something, about what I want to do with my life. Okay, I want to study criminal justice, maybe become a counselor for at-risk youth, help kids avoid the mistakes I made. I was surprised. That's a solid goal. I know I have a long way to go. I need to finish probation, earn back trust, prove I'm serious. But that's what I want to do. Then do it. Work toward it. Let your actions support your words. I will. And I wanted to thank you for not giving up on me, for holding me accountable. I hated you for it at first, but now I understand. You saved my life. Those words meant more than I expected. You saved your own life by choosing to change, by doing the work. I just provided the evidence and support. Still, thank you. After he left, I sat in my office thinking about second chances, about redemption, about whether people can truly change. I'd caught Austin, exposed his crimes, helped send him to detention, but I'd also given him a path back, a chance to rebuild, to become better. Time would tell if he took it. 6 months into his probation, Austin's counselor called. I want to give you an update. Austin is doing exceptionally well. His progress is remarkable. That's good to hear. More than good, he's becoming a peer counselor, helping other youth who've made similar mistakes. Sharing his story, he's making a real difference. I'm glad. He talks about you often, about how you didn't give up on him even after everything. That's made a significant impact. After the call, I told Claire. She cried. Happy tears this time. He's becoming the person I always hoped he'd be. He's becoming himself. The real version, not the one Marcus Webb created. A year after Austin's release, Detective Morrison called with news. We found your wife's necklace. The one from her mother. Collector who bought it agreed to return it in exchange for reduced charges in another case. That's incredible. Where is it? Evidence locker. You can pick it up next week. When I told Claire, she broke down. I never thought I'd see it again. We picked it up together. The necklace was exactly as I remembered. Diamonds sparkling, clasp intact, undamaged. Claire held it like it was made of light. I want Austin to give it to me, she said suddenly. What? I want him to hand it to me. Look me in the eye. Complete the circle. We called Austin, told him about the necklace, asked if he'd participate in a small ceremony. Just the three of us. He agreed, sounded nervous but willing. That evening, we sat in the living room. I handed Austin the necklace box. He held it carefully, looked at his mother. Mom, I stole this from you. I violated your trust, broke your heart, chose money over family, over love. He opened the box. I can't undo what I did, but I can promise it will never happen again. I can promise to spend every day earning back your trust, proving I've changed. He handed her the box. I'm sorry for everything. I love you. Claire took the box, pulled out the necklace. Austin, what you did hurt me deeply, but watching you change, watching you work, watching you become a good person, that's healed me. She put the necklace on. I forgive you, completely, and I'm proud of the man you're becoming. They hugged, both crying. I stayed back, gave them their moment. But Austin pulled me into the hug too. Thank you for not giving up on our family. The three of us stood there, broken family pieces put back together. Not the same as before. Different. Stronger maybe. 2 years after Austin's arrest, his probation ended. He completed every requirement, paid full restitution, exceeded expectations. His record was sealed. Juvenile case. Fresh start. He'd been accepted to college. Criminal justice program. Full scholarship based on his essay about redemption and second chances. We threw him a graduation party. Friends. Family. His probation officer came. So did Detective Morrison. I've seen a lot of kids go through the system. Morrison told me privately. Most don't change. Don't do the work. Austin's different. Special. You should be proud. I am. He did this himself. Chose to be better. But you gave him the structure, the accountability, the second chance. That matters. At the party, Austin gave a speech. 3 years ago, I made terrible choices. Hurt people I loved. Destroyed trust. Faced consequences. I blamed everyone but myself. He looked at Claire. At me. But 2 people refused to give up on me. They held me accountable while still loving me. They showed me that consequences and love can coexist. They installed cameras not to catch me, but to save me, to document truth, to force me to face what I'd become. He paused. I'm grateful they did, because that truth set me free. Free from lies. Free from Marcus Webb. Free from the path I was on. He raised his glass. To second chances. To accountability. To family that fights for you even when you don't deserve it. Everyone raised their glasses. Claire was crying again. Happy tears. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride, not in what I'd done, but in what Austin had become. After the party, Austin and I sat on the back porch. Just the two of us. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure. Why did you give me a second chance? After everything I did, most people would have written me off. Because I believe people can change. Not everyone. Not easily. But with the right support and genuine effort, it's possible. Did you always believe that? Or did I change your mind?" "You changed my mind. When you were in detention, apologizing, I saw something real. Something worth fighting for. So I fought. I'm glad you did." He paused. "I want you to know something. You're not my father. You'll never replace him. But your family, real family, the kind you choose. Thank you. That means a lot. And when I have kids someday, I'll tell them about you. About how you saved their father's life. How you cared enough to hold him accountable. How real love looks." We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set. Two people who'd started as strangers become adversaries, then allies, then something like father and son. Not blood family. Something better. Chosen family. 3 years after the arrest, Claire and I celebrated our 6th anniversary. Austin joined us for dinner. Brought his girlfriend. Nice girl. Psychology major. They'd met in a support group for families affected by crime. "She gets it," Austin explained. "Understand my past. Accepts who I am now." They announced their engagement that night. Claire cried. I shook his hand. Congratulated him. "Thank you for being here," Austin said. "For this. For everything. I know I don't say it enough, but I'm grateful. We're grateful too. For who you become. For choosing the hard path. I learned from the best." The wedding was a year later. Small ceremony. Close friends and family. Austin asked me to stand beside him. Not as best man. That was his friend from college. But as family. As someone important. I accepted. During the ceremony, watching Austin pledge his life to someone with honesty and integrity, I thought about the journey. From the first stolen $20 to this moment. The cameras I'd installed hadn't just caught a thief. They'd documented a turning point. A moment when everything could have gone wrong. But didn't. Because we'd acted. Because we cared enough to intervene. Because we'd balanced consequences with love. At the reception, Austin's college professor approached me. "You're Austin's stepfather?" "Yes." "He speaks highly of you. Says you saved his life." "He saved his own life. I just provided structure. He's an exceptional student. Plans to get his master's degree. Then work with juvenile offenders. He'll be excellent at it. I believe that." He credits you with teaching him that accountability and compassion aren't opposites. That real love sometimes means tough choices. After the professor left, Claire found me. "What are you thinking about?" About how different things could have been if we'd handled this differently. If we'd covered for Austin, enabled him, let him continue. He'd probably be in adult prison now. Or worse. Exactly. The cameras were the best decision we made. Were you scared when you first installed them? Terrified. Scared I was wrong. Scared I was right. Scared of what it would do to our marriage. But you did it anyway. Because not knowing was worse than knowing. And ignoring the problem would have been worse than confronting it. She squeezed my hand. "I'm glad you did. Glad you cared enough to act. Even when it was hard. So am I." For years after the arrest, Austin graduated with his master's degree. Criminal justice. Specialization in juvenile rehabilitation. He'd written his thesis on early intervention strategies for at-risk youth. Used his own story as a case study. Changed names and details for privacy. But the core was his experience. The manipulation by Marcus Webb. The escalating crimes. The intervention by family. The rehabilitation process. His professors wanted to publish it. Use it in teaching programs. Austin agreed. If my story can help other families catch problems early, help other kids avoid my mistakes, then it's worth sharing. The thesis became a book. Framed and Saved: How Family Accountability Changed My Life. It wasn't a bestseller, but it sold well in criminal justice circles. Schools used it. Treatment programs referenced it. Families read it and recognized warning signs in their own children. Austin started speaking at conferences, youth centers, schools, sharing his story, warning about online predators like Marcus Webb, teaching parents to recognize manipulation. The cameras saved me, he'd tell audiences, not because they caught me, but because they forced truth. Truth I couldn't deny. Truth I had to face. He'd pause. Without that evidence, I could have kept lying, kept manipulating, kept blaming others. The cameras made that impossible. Parents would approach him afterward, asking questions, seeking advice. My son is acting suspicious. Should I install cameras? Do you believe something's wrong? Austin would ask, yes, but I feel guilty, like I'm violating privacy. Privacy is a privilege earned through trust. If trust is broken, verification becomes necessary. Better to catch problems early than ignore them until it's too late. What if I'm wrong? Then you apologize and rebuild trust through transparency. But if you're right, you might save your child's life. 5 years after the arrest, Austin opened his own counseling practice, specializing in juvenile offenders and their families. He used his story openly, put it on his website, made it his credential. I'm not just a counselor who studied this. I lived it. I know what you're going through. I know how to come back from it. His practice thrived. Families drove hours to see him. Kids connected with him in ways they couldn't with other counselors. He gets it. One teenager told her parents, he doesn't judge me, doesn't lecture. He just helps me see what I was doing wrong and how to do better. Austin called me one evening. I need your help with something. What's that? I want to create a program for parents who suspect their kids are stealing or involved in crime. Teach them how to document, how to intervene, how to balance consequences and support, like you did. That's ambitious, but important. Most parents either ignore problems or overreact. There's a middle path, the one you found. I want to teach others. I'm in. What do you need from me? We spent 6 months developing the program. Parental Accountability Framework. Step-by-step guidance for parents dealing with suspected juvenile crime. How to recognize warning signs. How to document appropriately and legally. When to involve police. How to support rehabilitation. We piloted it with 20 families. The results were remarkable. 15 of the 20 families successfully intervened in their children's criminal behavior, documented evidence, got kids into treatment, avoided prosecution in most cases. The 5 that didn't work? Parents who couldn't follow through, who documented problems but couldn't bring themselves to act. Their kids continued criminal behavior, eventually got arrested by police, faced harsher consequences. That's the hardest part. Austin explained to a training group. You can gather all the evidence in the world, but if you don't act on it, it's useless. My stepfather understood that. He didn't just install cameras. He used what they showed to save me. One parent asked, but didn't you hate him for turning you in? Absolutely. For months, I despised him, thought he destroyed my life, but he actually saved it. Stopped me before I got in deeper, before Marcus Webb got me involved in worse crimes. When did you realize that? In detention, when I saw kids whose parents had ignored problems, kids with longer sentences, harder paths. I realized being caught early was a gift, a painful gift, but a gift nonetheless. The program expanded. Youth courts started using it. Probation departments recommended it. Schools brought us in for parent workshops. This is your legacy, I told Austin one day. Not the crime, not the arrest. This, helping families. Our legacy, he corrected. You started this by caring enough to install cameras, by being brave enough to act on what you found. I'm just continuing what you began. 6 years after the arrest, Claire's mother passed away, peacefully, in her sleep. At the funeral, Austin gave a eulogy. Grandma never knew about my arrest. Mom protected her from that pain. But if she had known, she would have understood why it happened. He looked at Claire. Because my mother learned from the best. Learned that love means protecting people even when they don't understand, even when they're angry, even when it's hard. He touched the necklace Claire was wearing, the one he'd stolen, the one that had been recovered. This necklace represents more than diamonds. It represents legacy, family, the things we think we've lost but can recover if we do the work. After the funeral, Austin's wife told me she was pregnant. We're naming him Marcus, if it's a boy. After Marcus Webb? I asked, shocked. No, she laughed. After you, your middle name. We want to honor the man who saved Austin's life. I was moved, speechless. You don't have to. We want to. You gave Austin a second chance. Now we're giving your name to the next generation. So he'll ask about it, and we'll tell him the story. About accountability, about love, about how sometimes the people who hurt us most temporarily are the ones who save us permanently. Baby Marcus was born 7 years after Austin's arrest. Healthy, perfect. Austin held him with such tenderness, such care. I promise to protect you, he whispered, to guide you, to hold you accountable, to love you even when it's hard, just like Marcus Foster did for me. Claire and I became grandparents. Unexpected, beautiful. We babysat, watched little Marcus grow, saw Austin become the father he needed, strict but loving, consistent, honest. He's incredible, Claire said one evening. Nothing like the angry teenager who stole from us. He's exactly like that teenager. Just grew up, matured, chose better. Do you ever regret installing the cameras? Exposing him? Never. Not once. Because look at what we have now. A family, real trust, a son who's making a difference, a grandson. None of that happens if we ignore the problem. I regret doubting you when you first suggested cameras. I thought you were paranoid. You were protecting your son. That's not wrong. You just didn't know the full story yet. And when you showed me, you did the hardest thing a parent can do. Held your child accountable while still loving him. That's courage. 8 years after the arrest, Austin's practice had expanded. 3 locations, 5 counselors, helping hundreds of families annually. He'd become a respected voice in juvenile justice, published multiple papers, spoke at national conferences. But he never forgot where he started, never forgot the cameras that caught him, the stepfather who acted, the consequences that saved him. At a conference in Washington, Austin was awarded the National Juvenile Justice Innovation Award, recognition for his rehabilitation work, for his program helping families. I was in the audience with Claire, watching him accept the award. This honor belongs to many people, Austin said from the podium, but especially to my stepfather, Marcus Foster, who installed cameras to catch a thief and ended up saving a life. He gestured to me. Stand up, Marcus. I stood, embarrassed by the attention. This man could have destroyed me, could have prosecuted me to the fullest extent, could have written me off as a lost cause. Instead, he gave me accountability and a second chance. He showed me that consequences and compassion aren't opposites. The audience applauded. Austin continued. Every family we help through our program receives that same balance. Evidence, truth, consequences, support, because that's what works. That's what saves kids. After the ceremony, a producer from a documentary series approached us. I want to tell your story. The theft, the cameras, the intervention, the rehabilitation, everything. Austin looked at me. What do you think? It's your story, your choice. It's our story, family story. What do you think, Mom? Claire considered. If it helps other families, other kids, then yes. The documentary took a year to produce. Interviews, reenactments, footage from the security cameras, Austin's journey from theft to redemption. It aired on a major streaming platform. Millions of views. The response was overwhelming. Families reached out, thanking us, sharing their own stories. Some had intervened successfully. Others were asking for help. We're getting 300 requests a week, Austin told me. Families who need help, who recognize warning signs, who want to act before it's too late. Can your practice handle that? Not alone, but I'm training others, licensing the program, creating a network, so families everywhere can access help. The program went national, then international. Parents in 12 countries were using it, documenting problems, intervening early, saving kids. You created something remarkable, I told Austin. We created something remarkable, he corrected. You, me, Mom. We're a team. 9 years after the arrest, Detective Morrison retired. She called to say goodbye. I wanted to thank you both. The Austin case was special. Reminded me why I do this work. How so? Most cases end badly. Kids get deeper into crime. Families fall apart. But Austin, he's a success story. A real one. And it's because of how you handled it. We just did what felt right. No, you did what was hard, what was necessary. Most parents can't do that. They enable, deny, make excuses. You faced truth and acted on it. That saved him. After she hung up, Claire said, she's right. We did something most parents can't do. We did what love required. Sometimes love is soft. Sometimes it's hard. We gave Austin what he needed, not what he wanted. And now he's giving that to other families. That's how it works. Pain becomes purpose. Mistakes become lessons. Consequences become catalysts. 10 years after the arrest, we threw Austin a party, celebrating a decade of sobriety from crime, a full decade of living with integrity. At the party, he stood to speak. 10 years ago today, police arrested me. I was 17, scared, angry. I blamed everyone else in my choices. He looked at us, especially my stepfather, for installing cameras, for documenting my crimes, for turning me in. I thought he destroyed my life. But he saved it. He loved me enough to let me face consequences, to hold me accountable, to refuse to enable my destruction. He raised his glass. Today I'm a counselor, a husband, a father, a contributing member of society. None of that happens without accountability, without cameras, without consequences. Everyone raised their glasses to second chances, to accountability, to families brave enough to do hard things. Later, as guests mingled, Marcus Webb's former probation officer approached me. You should know, Marcus Webb died in prison last year, stabbed during a fight. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no grief, just emptiness. He never changed, the officer continued, never took responsibility, never showed remorse. Exact opposite of Austin. That was the difference. Austin had chosen change, done the work, faced truth. Webb had rejected every opportunity, blamed everyone else, died as he lived, bitter, violent, unrepentant. Austin could have ended up like Webb, the officer said, if you hadn't intervened, if he hadn't been caught early. He was on that path. But he wasn't like Webb, I said. Deep down, Austin was good, just lost, manipulated. He needed redirection, not punishment alone. You gave him both. That's what made the difference. 11 years after the arrest, little Marcus turned 4. Smart kid, curious, always asking questions. Grandpa, why do you have cameras everywhere? He asked one day. I looked at Austin. Should we tell him? He's too young for full story, Austin said, but not too young for a simple version. We sat Marcus down. Grandpa had cameras because sometimes people make bad choices. The cameras help us see truth, help us fix problems. Did I make bad choices? Not you, but someone in our family did, a long time ago, and the cameras helped that person get better. Who? Me, Austin said. When I was young, I made very bad choices. Stole things. Lied to Grandma. Grandpa's cameras caught me. Helped me face what I'd done wrong. Are you still bad? No. I learned, changed, became better. But it took time and hard work. And cameras, and people who loved me enough to help me see truth. Little Marcus thought about this. If I make bad choices, will you help me see truth? Always, Austin promised. That's what family does. The conversation reminded me why we'd done it, why we'd installed cameras, why we'd acted on what we found, not to punish, to protect, to guide, to love. 12 years after the arrest, Austin published his second book, Beyond the Frame, Stories of Juvenile Redemption. It featured 15 case studies, kids he'd worked with, kids who'd turned their lives around after early intervention. Each story was different, but they shared common threads. Early warning signs ignored, escalating behavior, family denial, then intervention, accountability, support, redemption. These kids are alive today because families acted, Austin wrote in the introduction, because parents installed cameras, documented problems, faced painful truths, chose accountability over enabling. The book became required reading in several university criminal justice programs. Austin was invited to lecture, to train, to consult. He was becoming the expert, the voice, the proof that early intervention works. At one lecture, a student asked, "Do you ever resent your stepfather for what he did? For installing cameras without telling you?" "Every day," Austin answered honestly. "For about 2 years. Then the resentment faded, replaced by gratitude, understanding, love." When did it change? When I saw kids who weren't caught early, kids whose parents enabled them, ignored problems, let them spiral. Those kids had it worse. Longer sentences, deeper trauma, harder roads back. So you're grateful? Completely. The cameras were an act of love. Painful love, but real love nonetheless. Real love protects, even when it hurts. 13 years after the arrest, Claire and I renewed our wedding vows. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. Austin walked Claire down the aisle, stood beside me as I made new promises. Through the hard times and the good, through cameras and consequences, through love that looks like accountability. I choose you, always. Claire cried. Through stolen items and recovered trust, through juvenile detention and redemption, through the hardest thing we've ever done, I choose you, always. After the ceremony, Austin hugged us both. "Thank you for showing me what real marriage looks like, what real commitment means. You could have divorced, could have let my crimes destroy you. Instead, you fought. Together. For me, that's love." We stood together. The three of us, a family forged through fire, stronger for having survived, better for having faced truth. At the reception, I found myself alone for a moment, thinking about the journey, from that first missing $20 to the celebration. The cameras had changed everything. Caught a thief, exposed a scheme, saved a life. But more than that, they'd taught us all something crucial. Truth matters more than comfort. Accountability matters more than temporary peace. Love sometimes means consequences. And families that survive hardship together become unbreakable. Austin found me. What are you thinking about? About choices. About how one decision to install cameras changed all our lives. Best decision you ever made? Top 3. Marrying your mother. Installing cameras. Giving you a second chance. In that order? Exactly that order. He laughed. Fair enough. We stood together watching the party. Watching Claire dance with little Marcus. Watching Austin's wife laugh with friends. We did good, Austin said quietly. You did good. You chose to change. Did the work. Became better. But you gave me the structure, the accountability, the reason to change. Without that, I'd probably be in prison. Or dead. Or you'd have figured out another way. Maybe, but this way worked. This way I get to be here. With family. With purpose. With a life worth living. He paused. I want you to know something. When I have hard days, when clients don't progress, when families give up, I think about those cameras. About being caught. About facing consequences. And I remember that change is possible. Because I'm living proof. You're more than proof. Your inspiration. Evidence that accountability and love together create transformation. We should put that on a plaque. Maybe we should. As the sun set, our whole family gathered for a photo. Claire and me, Austin and his wife, little Marcus, everyone smiling, happy, real. I thought about that photo ending up on someone's mantle. Thought about what story it would tell. Not the story of a thief, but the story of redemption, of family that refused to give up, of cameras that caught more than crimes, that caught truth, that caught opportunity for change. That photo would never show the security footage, the police station, the juvenile detention center, the tears, the anger, the pain, but all of that was there, in the background, in the foundation, in the journey that brought us to this moment. Thank you, Austin whispered as we posed, for everything, for the cameras, for the consequences, for saving my life. Thank you for letting us, I whispered back, for choosing to change, for becoming who you were meant to be. The camera flashed, capturing us, frozen in that perfect moment. A family that had been broken, had been tested, had survived, and had come out stronger on the other side. Because sometimes love looks like surveillance. Sometimes protection looks like prosecution. Sometimes saving someone means letting them face the full consequences of their choices. My stepson tried to frame me for theft, so I set up cameras and exposed the scheme. But the real story wasn't about cameras or theft. It was about what happened after, about accountability, about redemption, about a family that refused to let crime define them, that chose truth over comfort, that chose growth over enabling, that chose to fight for each other even when it was hardest. And in the end, those cameras didn't just catch a criminal. They saved a life, built a family, created a legacy that was worth more than any item he'd stolen, worth more than any pain we'd endured, worth everything.